Hi everybody. So we're now in Taurus season, and I'm just bringing you an astrology report to look at the transits of the moment that the sun ingressed into the sign of Taurus, which for us in the UK was earlier this afternoon on the 19th of April at 3 p.m. So I'm going to pull up the chart and show you that, as well as the UK's chart, just to give you a context on the house systems. And as well as the sun being in Taurus, it is shining quite brightly through my window. So I've had to just draw the one curtain, but the light is shining through. So that's also a message that we need to hear, I think, especially at this time of the profound transformation that we're going through. We are getting through it. We are emerging from the shadow work that we've been undertaking. And now, of course, moving from cardinal fire energy of Aries into fixed earth energy of Taurus means that we're grounding in our plans for what we want our reality to look like, feel like, what we're trying to manifest. Okay, but this is about earth energy. It's about the physical reality. And yes, there's a fixed nature to Taurus. There can be some stubbornness to it as a trait in that way, but also it means that if we know exactly what we want, we can really ground that into our reality in order to make it happen. Okay, so it's knowing our worth, knowing our values, understanding our resources, okay, and where we are investing our time, energy, love, attention, money, etc. And I will come on to Venus very shortly when I show you the chart. But it's understanding all of that because we're wanting to really ground into our reality, what we're trying to achieve, what we're trying to receive, and of course, manifest going forward in our lives. I have to mention, of course, for those of you not aware of this, that we are having this movement into a different sign in the middle of this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Now, I say in the middle of because they've been at 21 degrees for a couple of days now, okay? So they've been together at 21 degrees, but the exact conjunction, and one that you'll hear a lot of people talk about, this moment that everybody's talking about that hasn't happened for quite a number of years, is actually taking place on the 21st of April for us on British summertime, BST. Okay, you might see it being referred to as on the 20th because, of course, in some time zones, it will be the 20th of April. So that is just to really refer to the exact moment that these two planets are the same degrees, same minutes. So they are literally, like that. I say literally, metaphorically, you know what I'm saying, okay? So there is this conjunction. Okay, and this is the energy. So it's heightening the energy of these two planets. And of course, Jupiter is all about expansion and luck. And Uranus is all about change, but it can be sudden change. And with Uranus ruling Aquarius, this is about new, innovative change. Okay, so we're trying to pave the way for our realities to be different in accordance with our divine essence, in accordance with our truth, and in accordance with our sovereignty. So we've already got the memo on that. This is now about the energy coming together to heighten and support this, where we can make expansive change in our realities, okay? Because the energy is allowing for that. It could also symbolize that this change is going to happen no matter what, because of the energy that is created from it. So we need to ride the wave of change also in that way and be open to it. But of course, positive change, we don't want to align with negative change. We're trying to move away from that. We're trying to transform, evolve through everything that we've had to heal. Okay. So that's just to mention that. But a pivotal moment for Taurus season to kick off whilst this is happening. And those two planets are in the sign of Taurus. So it is heightening that energy, that fixed earth energy. Okay. So let's jump into the charts without further ado. Sorry, I mean, it's still Mercury retrograde, and I am struggling sometimes with words. So you'll have to bear with me, okay? And if it resonates for you, you're going to know what Mercury retrograde is all about. So, I'm not trying to blame a planet for my misfortunes, but it can create certain little things to do with communication. Okay, so here we go. I've got quite a few charts, so I want to pick the right one here. There we go. All right, so hopefully you can see that on the screen there, the sun in Taurus. So this is the moment. We know we've got a whole zodiac season of Taurus coming up, and of course planets are going to move, asteroids are going to move, but this is to show you a freeze frame of the cosmos at the time of the sun ingressing into Taurus, because we've got here 0 degrees, 0 minutes. Okay, that is the moment. So freeze frame at that time. Let's take a look at what's going on. And you can already see, there you go, 21:21. But Jupiter is obviously a bit behind Uranus. And this is where they're going to be catching up to that point. For us in the UK on BST, this will be happening, of course, on the 21st of April. So there we go, 21, 21, 21. And it will be 21 degrees, 50 minutes. So Uranus obviously moves slower. You can guess that from what I'm saying. And they will be meeting up, okay, at that 50-minute mark. And that's that exact conjunction that we're all talking about, okay? So just to remind you, for us in the UK, it's early hours of the morning on the 21st. For other people, it's going to be the 20th, okay? Right. So we've already got this energy in Taurus of this expansive energy buildup relating to change, okay? And in a major way, because these are big planets and it's all about newness as well. So now the sun moving into this fixed earth energy, okay, in terms of, right, what are we trying to ground into our realities? Let's know our worth. Okay, we've got the soul support of the universe to say, let's know our worth and let's ground in our realities here. And by doing that, we can allow for that expansion. We can allow for that change if we know our worth and if we're upholding our values. So, of course, the sovereign journey, the transformation journey, the healing journey, okay, we've been evolving, ascending, etc. And we've had to really take a look at ourselves and understand, okay, if our values have changed, what else needs to change around that? Because people, situations, etc., even thoughts that might have been aligned with us once are possibly no longer aligned with us. And that's okay, because we're evolving. It's a natural process. This is all about knowing our worth and standing by our values and making adjustments accordingly. Okay, so we've had to do a lot of that already. Now we're looking at really owning our worth from a sovereign perspective, because I also think of Taurus when I relate to tarot as the Empress energy as well. It's also the Hierophant energy. So that's very much about commitments, okay? And it can also relate to spiritual awakenings, depending on how you look at it, but certainly a commitment here to our worth is what I would say, combining the two of those together. Very powerful figures. So we're still having to own the sovereignty that Aries has taught us, okay? Because there's still a lot of energy in Aries, by the way. So we're still needing to follow that because we're trying to be the leaders of our own lives. This is now about understanding what we want to ground into our reality, that earth energy, the 3D, the physical energy, the physical environment that we are immersed within, okay? So big energy going on in Taurus, okay? And right at the start of Taurus season with that conjunction that's happening, of course. We've got a full moon coming up in Scorpio on the 23rd or 24th, depending on where you are in the world. And for us in the UK, it's on the 24th. And that is, of course, a full moon in another fixed sign, because Taurus is the opposite sign to Scorpio. So that will be happening. And Scorpio is deep, okay, because Pluto rules Scorpio. So there is great depth to Scorpio. But that can mean if we're trying to release things that have come from the depths of our soul, that can feel uncomfortable. And we may already be aware of these things. So, of course, I'm going to do an astrology report on that full moon transit. We can look at everything else that's going on. But that's just to kind of forewarn you that that's coming up. So we've got this big energy of the conjunction. We've been through eclipses, and now we're coming up to a full moon in Scorpio, which is really going to illuminate some deep stuff in our emotions, or it's asking us to go deep in terms of what we need to release. Okay, right. Now, let's focus on some other points here of reference. I've said about the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, but there is another one. In fact, there's another two happening. So we've got down here, we have got Ceres and Pars Fortuna, 19 degrees of Capricorn. Okay, so Pars Fortuna is the pot of fortune. So we look at that and we think of success. It can be happiness, it can be joy. It's not always fortune in terms of monetary value. But Ceres is that asteroid that brings expansive energy, not as big as Jupiter, of course, but there is some expansive quality, and it's feminine energy. So there's a nurturing side to this. They're in Capricorn. So that is also the reality. And when I think of Capricorn, and the word that's coming through to me at this particular moment in time, so I'm going to go with it, is boundaries. So when we're bearing in mind we're in Taurus season, what do we want to experience in the physical reality when it comes to our way of being, our life, our journey, our path? And do we need to put boundaries in place because of the fact that we've had to adjust our values and we know our worth more? Okay. Because by doing that, that allows for that expansive energy of Ceres and the nurturing to then bring in the success of Pars Fortuna. Okay. Now, Pars Fortuna moves quickly. So I find this quite interesting that at the very moment that the sun moves into Taurus, they're both at 19 degrees. So as I'm recording this now, Pars Fortuna is going to be in a completely different sign. But this is saying at the kickstart of Taurus season, what we're wanting to expand and actually bring in the success in our reality relates to how strong we can be from a sovereign perspective, remember, in terms of boundaries that we might need to put in place. Not only that, the rules, because Saturn, who rules Capricorn, can relate to rules, the rules that we need to put into our life, as in our rules. Okay, so establishing our rules, not necessarily following other people's rules and what they dictate for us. Okay, 1919 is an angel number, may be significant for you. Take that if it resonates. And I'm also drawn to the 3-3 that's above. So that's about manifestation. So we're looking at what we're trying to manifest here for our reality in the physical. Capricorn is also earth energy, but Capricorn is a cardinal sign, and cardinal signs start things off. So we need to allow ourselves to be open with that expansive energy of Ceres, to be open to receive success in our reality. Because if we're blocked off from it, are we going to receive it? Probably not, because the universe is going to understand, well, they're not ready to receive that. We need to nurture ourselves through it, and we need to put boundaries in place, have our own rules in order, okay, and also get in alignment with our worth and values from the Taurus energy. Be open to change, be open to expansion, and that's what's going to bring in the success, okay? So that's happening with that conjunction. There is also, and I did refer to this briefly in my astrology report on the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, because Venus seems to be, during the period of time of this 21 degrees conjunction, which is 4 days and 9 hours, she seems to be activating 3 planetary bodies. First of all, the North Node. Okay, that was at the beginning. Now Mercury, which you can see 17 degrees. Mercury is currently in retrograde, as I've mentioned. And at the end, so when we get to that end point of the 21 degree conjunction, she will be conjunct with Chiron at 2020. So there's a lot of 2s going on there. So she seems to be activating all these points. That's what I was intuitively drawn to when I looked at the charts for the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. But here specifically with this particular conjunction happening, and obviously the minutes are different, but I'm looking at the degrees here. And this is all about, of course, the Venus energy. Where are we investing our resources and our Venus heart chakra, if you like? And heightening that energy with Mercury about communication, whether it's expression to other people, expression to ourselves, okay? Travel and technology are part of Mercury as well, but it feels here that it's to do with communication. And the reason I say that is because I mentioned before in another astrology report previously that Mercury being in retrograde, this period of retrograde in Aries, is really asking us to introspect, because that's what a retrograde period is, to go within and understand where we might need to speak up from a sovereign place, Aries energy, in terms of being the leader of our own life, Aries energy, okay, and understanding that at the point of Mercury stationing direct, which is happening on the 25th of April, Mercury will then be conjunct the North Node, okay, and you can see the North Node there at 15. Well, Mercury in retrograde is moving back. So there will be a conjunction with the North Node. And therefore, that is about, okay, Mercury is now direct. I've gone within. I understand where I need to speak up from a sovereign place. And now this is go time, because this is now related to my path and purpose, to move forward on my path, to move forward with my purpose and towards my purpose. Okay, in however many steps it's going to take to get there, but moving in the direction of purpose, then I need to speak up about this. I need to speak up about that, because I've used that retrograde period to understand that, for instance. Okay, so that's what it felt like to me because of those pivotal points on the timeline. And Venus now with Mercury is reminding us within our expression to understand where we do need to speak up, or even get our thoughts in alignment with where we are investing that Venus energy. So if we are investing our time in certain areas that is not working for us, it's draining us, it's not giving us that Venus energy back, well, we've got to be truthful with ourselves, communicate with ourselves, and understand, okay, so that's not working. This might need to change. So I'm going to need to speak up about this, or I'm going to need to express myself in that way. Maybe we want to invest more of our time in a certain area, but fears, doubts, whatever might have been, may have held us back in the past. And now with Mercury in retrograde, we've understood, okay, well, if I want to do this, I'm going to have to speak up about it. If I want to do this, then I'm going to have to talk to that person about it. Okay. And it's being a sovereign soul about it. So in other words, having that courage to speak up about whatever it might be, having the courage and the motivation to actually go after what we want, that's Aries energy, and to therefore express what it is we want, okay, in a situation, to ourselves, to other people, whatever that might be. Venus is nurturing this process. Okay, and we have got Chiron there still, so this is part of the healing journey. We're having to potentially heal wounds around our expression here when it comes from a sovereign place. But with Venus, okay, love is in the mix here as well, but let's not just focus solely on that. It is about where we're investing our heart energy. We want to be investing our heart space energy into people and situations where we're going to get that back. You know, there's going to be reciprocity. And also, most importantly, because we're dealing with Aries energy here, this is about it all being aligned with our path. So investing our heart chakra in people that are actually aligned with our path. That's also something to bear in mind. So if we're wanting to connect with people who are aligned with our path and our purpose, and we've understood that, then maybe this is just saying we've got to speak up about it. We need to have those conversations. If we are trying to connect with people that are not aligned with us on our path, that might be where there's some difficulty in communication, for example. Okay, so it's however it might resonate, if it resonates at all, because if it does resonate for you on this path, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. This is about getting things in alignment with our worth and values. And as we grow and evolve, those values might change. So therefore, situations around us, connections will naturally change. Okay, because we can only be in control of our own vibration, of how we're moving forward. Okay, so we need to look at that with the Venus energy in terms of where we're investing our time, our energy, our love, our money, you know, whatever it might be, and where we might need to speak up about it, okay, or express or have a conversation, even if it's to ourselves, from a sovereign place, Aries energy. Okay, so those three conjunctions going on are obviously quite profound, because it still touches on sovereignty, it touches on worth and values, and for me it touches on the reality that we're living in, okay, and boundaries that we need to put in place, and rules that we need to establish for ourselves. Okay, so beautiful. The moon at this point of the sun ingressing into Taurus was in Virgo, okay, and at the time of me recording this now, is still in Virgo, but of course we know that's going to change. But at this point, moon in Virgo, so when it comes to feelings, our emotional home, there might be this desire, because Lilith is there as well, there might be this desire to feel in control of our feelings. So with all this change happening, it could be quite overwhelming, and it could be quite sort of, right, okay, I know I need to create this for my reality, but I also need to feel like I'm in control of how I feel about this, because that is very much that sort of Virgo way of being, wanting to get things in order, but to feel like there is some control over it, not in a controlling way, but feeling safe from feeling in control of one's feelings. Okay, so there is that earth energy there again, so it's grounding that into the emotions and understanding that what we're trying to achieve here, certainly with Taurus season, in terms of the reality aspect, the physical reality and the physical environment around us, well, we know change is on the horizon because of this big conjunction, so we need to feel okay about that. And often that is about feeling okay with the unknown. So yes, we might understand what needs to change, but we might not know how it's actually going to change. So this is about needing to feel in control of the surrendering aspects. And that can be a bit of a step out of a comfort zone, okay? Especially for that Virgo energy. And there is a square that's actually going to Pallas in Sagittarius. So Pallas represents love and beauty. And I would say that from a self-love perspective, and certainly what we're learning about that, because she's in Sagittarius, this is about understanding, okay, to love ourselves in this way, we need to be okay. We need to feel okay with not knowing the outcome. Okay, this is all about our intentions and our manifestations matching what's in alignment with our divine essence. Okay, and understanding that we've got that beauty within our soul to recognize what it is we want for our lives. Remember the sovereignty as well, because it's a bigger picture here. But we need to show ourselves the self-love that we can choose what we want and we can be in control of our reality. We just need to understand that this is working with the divine on this. We can't dictate how things might appear for us. Okay, it's aligning with it and then surrendering to the outcome in that way. So we've got to show ourselves some consideration for the power, the love, the beauty we hold within our soul to actually manifest the dreams that we dream, and to trust that if everything else is in order and we are in alignment with our sovereignty and we are being open to change and we are aware of our worth, okay, we can expand and bring in that success, then we'll be okay. But the challenge is, as I say, because it's going to the moon in Virgo, the challenge is about, can I actually release control here of how I feel about that, and needing to be okay with that because of having that desire to control the feelings with Lilith right there as well. Okay, and that perfectionism, which is a good trait to have, but when it comes up as a shadow feminine side, it's about being overly focused on how things need to be. Okay, so there is that to be said as well. But we know that Lilith is in this this trine with Ceres and of course with Jupiter and Uranus. So there is expansion through the shadow work here and change that's happening as a result. If we can overcome these underlying fears that could be going on here, okay, and I've mentioned that obviously in the Jupiter Uranus conjunction. Do you know what I keep wanting to say? And I have to say this now because I've wanted to say it twice. I've wanted to say Jupiter Chiron. Okay, now we know that they're in completely different signs, and they're not forming a conjunction at all. But for some reason, I've wanted to say this twice. So this is coming through. This is coming through, channeled, okay, that there is something to do with Jupiter and Chiron. Now, if we look at Jupiter and Taurus, well, we know that's expansion within our worth and values, okay? We need to be in alignment with that in order to bring the positive expansion and luck that Jupiter can bring us on our journey of life. And Chiron is in Aries, healing the sovereign wound. So I feel that there is something here about we're definitely needing to come from a sovereign place when it relates to our worth and values. We need to own it, folks. We need to own it. We need to actually acknowledge that we are sovereign and understand that we are the warriors of our lives. We are the leaders of our lives. Nobody else is the leader of us. We are the leaders of our life. So we are in control. And remember, Aries is cardinal fire energy. So it starts things off. So when we can own that from a sovereign place and we're heading in the direction of our purpose, in other words, what we're here to do on earth in this lifetime, what we're driven towards, you know, what is our purpose? What are we heading towards to achieve? And it doesn't mean to say that we're there at that moment immediately. This is about on the path, okay? And it's to do with the path of sovereignty. So once we understand that, we're aligned with that, we are healing our sovereignty by default because we're becoming more empowered to do that. So there is something to be said here because of what's coming through, that if we can do that and we're healing our sovereignty in that way, that's going to also allow for that expansion and the luck to come in within our reality. Okay, but we need to own that from a sovereign place. That's the message. Okay, thank you. So there are some other aspects going on that I'm not going to go into too much, but you know, there is also challenge when it comes to believing in the success we can achieve, because that links back to the sovereign energy. There's a square from Ceres and past Fortuna up to all of that Aries energy going on. So yes, there is that sovereignty. We need to get that straight in our minds. You know, we need to be focused and driven from a sovereign place in order to bring in the success. And that means we've got to heal our sovereignty, Chiron in Aries. We've got to focus on where we are investing our resources when it comes to our sovereign path. Are we investing in people that are not on our sovereign path, that are not in alignment with our sovereign path? Are we investing in things, in situations? Are we giving our love to people and places that are not in alignment with our sovereign path? We need to look at that. We need to communicate from a place of sovereignty and leadership, and to focus on the path towards sovereignty. So if we can do that, that opens up that expansion in our reality and the success that we can achieve. And it also brings that massive, major expansion of Jupiter as well. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to mention is Neptune is in sextile to Pluto. Neptune in Pisces, at home in Pisces, and Pluto's in Aquarius, as we know, paving the way forward for this deep, profound transformation of a new reality for us. It's a new, innovative way of being. And with Neptune in Pisces, there is definitely strength here in the power of intuition. Now, Neptune is 28 degrees and 29 degrees is the final degrees that a planet or planetary body can be in before it moves to another sign. So Neptune is at the tail end, and that can feel harsh. Okay, when any planet is at the end of a sign, it can feel quite harsh. Okay, so our intuition might be on overdrive, and might actually be, it might be quite overwhelming for us. Okay, if we're open to receive these messages from our intuition, from our soul. But there is great power here, because this is about Neptune being at home in Pisces. This is the ethereal, this is the mystical, magical realms of the 5D. And we're talking about reality. We're talking about, of course, the earth energy and how we want our reality to look, to be, because that's the physical reality we're experiencing. But remember, we are actually souls here experiencing this. Okay, so our essence is actually on the 5D. So we're looking at Neptune in Pisces, which is aligning us with the ethereal aspect of our divinity and our soul, in order to receive those intuitive messages to transform our reality, okay, by undergoing the deep, profound transformation that Pluto's calling for. Think of it as going through that cocoon of transformation. Deep, painful, challenging, but worth it in the end, okay? But our intuition has been guiding us. This is where it's paying off, because as a sextile, it's harmonious. So, you know, there is that intuitive communication going on, assisting the deep, profound transformation and the new way of being with the Aquarius energy, okay? And relying on that almost to guide us in that way. So being open to receive messages from our intuition, because how often do we do that? Do we really listen to what our intuition is telling us? That's our inner compass. But do we know that? Or do we let our mind drive everything? And our mind is needed, but it needs to come from the intuition, and the mind can then apply the strategy to move forwards. Okay, so meditation would be great at this time to receive any messages that's needed in terms of how we're wanting our reality to be, getting us in alignment with worth and values, connecting us into that 5D realm to understand and remember who we are on a soul level, because then we can understand that we're worthy of this. We're worthy of creating the reality that we desire and grounding it into the reality with the Taurus energy now. Okay, the other sextile is actually going from Uranus and Jupiter to Mars. So there is something to be said here about the action that the masculine essence within all of us, regardless of gender, is driven to take. So if we can understand from our intuition what that is, and it's guiding forward how we're going to transform on a deep level, then the masculine essence within us can then understand what needs to be taken action on or with. Okay, if that even makes sense how I've said it, but you know what I'm saying, and how that's going to facilitate the change that we're going to see. Okay, also bearing in mind, because we look at it as a two-way street, that with this heightening energy with the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, this is about, of course, getting in alignment with worth and values that I've mentioned, but this change, this expansion that's happening in our realities could also then enable us to take more action, because things are shifting and changing, and we need to respond to that by taking action. But balancing the feminine and masculine out by understanding the intuitive messages and that which we want to create, and then taking the action with the masculine energy. All right. So there we go. Let's stop sharing that. And I'm going to just show you now. Again, I've got to go through some of these. Bear with me. For the UK. Okay. So the Sun ingressed into Taurus in the 10th house. There's been a lot going on in the 10th house for the UK. And that's the house of inner authority and work. There's a bit of Aries and a bit of Taurus in the 10th house. And this is what makes natal charts unique. Okay, so it's never a blanket rule. It's never a blanket rule, because charts are unique, and we might have 3 signs in one house. We might only have 1. So it really depends on the chart and looking at it from a bigger picture. I can't express that strongly enough. Okay. So the 10th house is where it's at in terms of that soul essence of the cosmos. Really, really getting us to focus on worth and values when it comes to the reality that we're now wanting to carve out for ourselves in Taurus season, or at least getting things in motion in that way, because we've got the Aries energy as well, and that's to do with our inner authority. So we need to be aligned with that. But it could also be saying for a lot of people that things are changing in relation to the work situation. And if we know our worth, Taurus energy, that soul essence can support us, but we need to also uphold our sovereignty because of all the Aries energy that's also in the 10th house. Okay. The moon in Virgo is going to be in the 3rd house. So that is the house of expression and communication. So yeah, okay, needing to feel in control of our feelings, as I said before. And certainly if it means we need to express something to someone, it could be challenging our expression, our communication in that way, because we want to feel in control of our feelings, and maybe we don't. Okay. And Palace being in the 5th house, yes, this could pertain to love. It's definitely to do with self-love. We've got to show ourselves that self-love to support us through these challenging feelings, okay, of the uncertainty that can come up from this, you know, not knowing what the change is going to be, and feeling stressed about not being able to control our feelings, okay, in that way. So show ourselves that self-love to nurture us through that. Jupiter and Uranus are in the 11th house for the UK, so that is actually the house of connections with others, and so therefore there could be big expansive change within our connections with others generally with this conjunction, okay. And the trine that's taking place, of course, between Lilith, Ceres and past Fortuna, and Jupiter Uranus, I wanted to say Chiron again, is between the 11th house, 6th house and 3rd house. So again, expression and communication, connections with others, and daily routines and schedules, as well as where we are of service to other people. Okay, so just looking at it like that. Pluto, the deep transformation, 7th house of relationships with people, places, things, and Neptune is there. I've not drawn the sextile on it, but I'm just drawing your attention to it now, that Neptune in Pisces is in the 9th house and Pluto is in the 7th house. So when we can discover and learn more about what our intuition is telling us, 9th house, we can then understand how that's going to work for us in terms of transforming our relationships on a deep level with people, places, things, 7th house. Okay, fabulous. Let's leave it there. I wanted to try and keep it as brief as I could. And those who know me will know I struggle with that because once I get into it, I just carry on. I have got some divination tools here. So I've got the Astro Star Codes deck and I've got Wisdom of the Oracle. Just to take a couple of extra messages. Okay, for Taurus season, what have we got coming up in Taurus season for the collective? Not going to resonate for everybody. The collective is massive, so it's not going to resonate for everybody. And bearing in mind, energy is fluid. So I'm taking these cards now at this point. We've got the whole Taurus season. Energy is going to move. Okay, so let's just see it as a guiding point. And if it resonates, it resonates. That's really interesting. Oh, goodness me. So as I'm just like splitting the deck and shuffling them, this one kind of did a bit of a move into the vertical. It was quite magical. Sagittarius expands, that's Jupiter energy. It's also Pisces as well, in a way, the expansion, I mean, not Sagittarius, obviously. Not Sagittarius, but I'm talking about the expansion of Jupiter, because Jupiter was the original ruler of Pisces before Neptune was discovered. That's the point I'm trying to make. But this is about shooting the arrow in the direction of what you want and learning and discovery on the quest of what that might be. We've had to look at that before. We've also got Scorpio. We've got 1st house, that's about the self, so that's about Aries energy, and progressions, journey. Yeah, it is a journey of the self where we've had to go deep. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's see what we've got, because they just popped out. They wanted to be seen. So thank you for that. Right. Oh, there we go. Neptune, vision. Okay. So even though we are in Earth, we're in Earth energy now with Taurus, this is very much about that vision. Okay. And think of it as a vision board, almost about what you want your reality, your physical reality, to look like and feel like, and dream it into being in that way of using the intuition, as I've mentioned, and how that can actually support the deep transformation that's needed. Okay, if we're guided by our intuition, it's not going to steer us wrong, because our intuition knows us better than anybody, if we listen to it. Okay, so that's very powerful, and certainly having those magical visions, being the dreamer. I mean, I can talk about that happily because I'm a Pisces, so that's my ruler, and I am a dreamer, and I think that that's important. It's absolutely important to be a dreamer, but we need to also ground them into reality. So our intuition can guide us in that way. Meditation could bring visions, okay? But ultimately having a vision for what you want your reality to look like, feel like. It's about the physical reality we're dealing with on Earth. But how do we want to experience that from an ethereal point of view? Because we're souls here to experience life. Okay, our own rules, our own boundaries, our own sovereignty, not being told what to do. Okay, this is about our vision for our reality. Okay, wisdom of the oracle. See what we have for Taurus season, please. That second one was very appropriate. Okay, one more, please. For Taurus season. On the bottom, we've got clean it up. That always makes me think of Virgo, because it is about getting things in order. Okay, so hidden energy, where might we need to get things in order to align us with this path? We've got the observer. We've got a change in the wind. That's the appropriate one. And co-create. So I mentioned before about feeling comfortable in our feelings with the not knowing. So almost challenging the uncertainty that can come from change. Well, there is a change in the wind. Change is needed. Okay, that's why the energy is here to support us through it. But it can be sudden change. It can be unexpected change. And this is about looking at things from a higher perspective, okay, to understand and to recognize that we have got the power to co-create our reality using the wisdom that's within, and also by going the distance in terms of our commitment to ourselves and our own journey. Okay, and co-creating with the divine. So that's another thing about the surrendering aspect. It's having those visions and knowing what it is we want to experience in our reality, manifesting and believing it, because that is part of manifestations, and then surrendering. Okay, not trying to control the outcome, because then that allows us to be open for change as well, but in a way that is in a co-creation, kind of working together with the universe in relation to that. If you know that change is needed and you've had to go through certain challenges and certain lessons to get to that point of being in alignment, well, I'm ready for change, then of course you're going to know, you're going to understand all about that, and gearing up for this conjunction, you know, aligning with the energy for change, and then building up to this full moon. Okay, I need to release this. So it's everything is happening step by step in that way. But if not, okay, all of this energy and Taurus energy is saying, right, okay, things are changing, realities are changing. How can you actually, you know, clean up your own situation to ensure that you're aligned with change and the change that you want to experience? Okay, and looking at things from a higher perspective. Looking at things from a higher perspective. I feel like there's one more. Okay, let's see what else we have. I feel like there's one more. It's shooting the arrow in the direction that we want as well. There we go. Thank you. Right. Okay. The same one is on the bottom. Breathe. So that takes me back to meditation. Okay. Finding your own inner sanctuary to actually reflect and introspect on what you need to receive those visions potentially. We've got by the book. All of these are kind of like similar colors, like a color palette going on here. Makes me think of a Pinterest board. That could be something that could help you with your visualization, actually, a Pinterest vision board for your manifestations. Okay. But by the book, it's card number 11, so there is alignment there. What I feel from that is there is a time to follow the herd and there is a time to not. This is about a new way of being. So that's why I say that, because it's almost like there could have been a way that you've been doing something for quite a long time. And it's like, I'm going by the book, you know, but maybe that's what needs to be cleaned up. And maybe that's what you need to look at from a different perspective, because is it serving you? And this is what's coming through to me, follow the leader. Okay. This is about being your own leader. So I was saying in the astrology about, of course, the sovereignty, being the leader of your own life and your own rules and boundaries, and that's going to bring in success. So this is about breaking free from the monotony of that which is not serving you in order to be that leader. And so you're following your own rules. So by the book, yeah, but by your own book, your own rule book. Okay. That's what it feels like to me. And of course, there's 3 elephants there. And they're all different sizes, so they're different ages. So this is about growth as well. There is growth in this. There's evolution in this process to step into sovereignty and be the leader of your own life. It's aligned in this way at this time. But to understand that growth means change. Okay, so there's progression here, but this is about now stepping out on your own by way of being your own leader of your own life. Okay. And I'm drawn to this again, you know, the archer, knowing what it is, because there's been that time of introspection and the quest has enabled you to learn and discover something. And now it's offering expansion for us with this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. So this is about aiming in the direction of what we want and aligning with change. Okay. Yeah, I feel that's what I need to say. So I'm sending you love and blessings for Taurus season. Let's ground those realities into our physical environment. You know, let's ground our dreams into our reality. It's probably what I want to say. And you know, let's create our own rule book for what we're wanting. You know, and I'm not saying go out and be a rebel and cause trouble. I'm not saying about that. I'm saying about, you know, this is about our life. So what do we want to do? What do we want to experience in our life, in our physical environment, in our physical reality? What is in alignment with that and what isn't? What needs to change? This is all about change. This conjunction coming up in a couple of days is all about change, okay, and major expansive change. So we want to align with that. We want to expand and grow in a positive way to bring in the luck, to bring in the success. So we need to be open to change. And to be open to change, we need to understand that change is needed, of course. So it's looking at things, it's introspecting on that. You might already be aware of it, but anything that's not in alignment with your sovereign path going forward, we need to detach from that. So the full moon that's coming up after would be perfect in order to use that, you know, that event, that, you know, the lunar energy of that event to actually support us with the releasing of the deep stuff that we need to, because it's Scorpio energy. But we need to align with that change and actually acknowledge to ourselves and the universe, okay, this is where change is needed. This is no longer aligning with my path. I'm open to the change, you know, and I'm comfortable with feeling okay in surrendering and the uncertainty that could come with this, because we don't want to overwhelm ourselves. We need to be aligned with the surrendering. Okay. I've just shown you where that might be a bit of a challenge, but you know, let's look at the positive with it all. Let's expand in a positive way. Sending you love and blessings, and I'll see you soon. Take care.